Tuesday, January the 10th. And, okay, got it. Yeah, it's starting over. It's 5:15, January the 10th. And I'm calling to order a special meeting of the Danville District Board of Directors. And we have a quorum of 3 right now here, and we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. We're waiting on 2 to talk about the budget. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask if there are any additions and changes to the agenda, but I have one. And I'd like to add just a brief discussion of the content of the letter that I'm going to write in the town to the for the town report, and then ask a couple of questions of the administration. If I can get a motion for that. And a second here. And then if we could all vote yes on that, please, that'd be great.
Yep.
3 ayes makes it good.
Make
Okay.
you want me to do the motion now?
That, sure.
So moved. Okay.
So moved is good. So moved is good
Good
enough. It's just it's a motion
Okay.
to add the discussion with a second. It's good enough, or there's not enough people here to complain. Okay. So one of the things I started working on the letter in my mind. I put the letter to paper. I sent it to a couple of people to have it, once for grammar, once for content. And one of the things that Molly came back to me with was if I could make clearer what specifically is driving the cost of the budget with regard to special education. And so this is not as part of the budget, but what are some of the things that are making the raising the budget in special education transportation costs?
That's probably a better Mark question about what's raising the special ed costs.
So did you hear that question, Mark?
Yeah, I did. So there's a couple. One is that we leased a van to a wheelchair equipped van, and that's going to run about $12,000 a year. And that's for a student at Danville. That's part of it. The other part of it is that you have a reduced share of the block grant because your child count went down. So you have some fixed costs in special education, but you're getting a smaller share of the revenue from the block grant.
Because we have fewer students relative to the other schools, relative to our numbers
Right.
in the past. In terms
Right.
of
Mhm. Right.
So we have
fewer kids on IEPs, so our child count, that's our child count, is the number of kids on IEPs. And if that's gone down, we get less from the block grant.
Right.
But we
The-
still have the same.
Some of
no,
it-
we've added stuff. So we have more extraordinary costs. I'm asking, our special education costs went up quite a
that
bit,
van, for sure.
because that van's $12,000, but our costs are up quite a bit more than that.
All right. Do you want me to answer that, Clayton?
Yeah,
What-
if you want, this is just like a plain English question, more for the letter than necessarily for the budget. This isn't the budget talk yet, but either way.
The special education, the Act 173 block grant is a flat grant to the SU, and we divide it amongst the districts based on their percentage share of children on IEPs. Okay, so there was a reduction in the child count at Danville, so you get a smaller share on that. Unfortunately, we can't fluctuate staffing in, we've had special educators there that have higher case counts. They've seen some of their case counts go down, but we don't let special educators go, try to bring them back on when the child count comes up. So it's a little ironic, but we have some fixed costs in special education, largely around staffing, that is not being offset as much by your share of the block grant, because your share of the block grant is smaller this year.
So that's almost, what was that? They used to say something about efficiencies. What was the whole reason we merged was there was a 2-word phrase, and it was something efficiencies or something, whatever. That's the reverse of it almost. That
Yeah, I'm not sure what that phrase is.
I'll think of it. I'll think of it. Okay. So that was the one thing that I had. I'll tell Tim where we are. So I added to the agenda just a quick discussion about the letter that I have to send to that I have to write, because this is going to be my first one writing. And I made a pass on it, and it's had a couple of edits, and then I was just clarifying one thing that Molly asked me to check with. And I'll send you the letter in the coming days here so that you can sign off on it as well, because it will have your name. And that's that. Okay. So I'm going to finish that one, and I've got now a 4th person here. Like I said, we're waiting on Dave Toll for a vote, and I hope he's here eminently. And I'm going to open discussion on the FY'24 budget version 3.1. And the 0.1 was a one additional slight change that we got yesterday. And I'll open the floor for questions from the board to the administration.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment that when you look at that budget and you add up all of those uncontrollable costs, including costs with the building, like supplies and that property services code we talked about. If you take all of those and you add them all up, it's like 33% of the budget. And that to me seems significant that we don't control over 33% of the budget.
Right, and with the other, when they move healthcare costs over, it just became,
So it's healthcare, it's total premiums, special education, building utilities, building supplies. In that uncontrollable cost kind of piece of the pie. And then if you add in just teaching instruction, the largest line item, it brings it up to almost 80% of the whole budget. So uncontrollable plus the teaching instruction, just that basic teaching instruction, that's like 78% of our budget. So you think about what's left over, you don't have guidance, you don't have, you know, any extracurriculars, athletics. So to me, it shows how much is needed in that budget by looking at those percentages.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
How
Like,
much,
you
how
can't
much
get
that
rid
you
of
can't
any of
change,
that.
how much that
you
you
can't-
can't change.
How much you can't change, essentially. Yeah.
And with the education instruction, we collectively bargain
Right.
what we pay the teachers, and that is.
It's slightly uncontrollable too. And
It's, yeah, I mean, to a degree it's uncontrollable, but
Yeah.
we go across the state, the teachers negotiate across the state, we negotiate locally. With a lawyer in the room who knows what's happening across the state.
Yeah,
And those costs are really they're going to be driven every year by the state,
right.
out of our control.
So that was helpful to me just to see how significant those numbers are. And that's not food service, that's not transportation, all those other things that we also need, but we, you know, technically control. I just thought that was interesting, hard way to look at it, you know?
Well, and
Mhm.
like when you look at a budget like this that's given to us, a lot of the times what it comes down to is within our controllable realm is, are there staff members here that we can do with that? And that's
Right.
really what it comes down to. And I think if you look at the way the building is running, if you look at the test scores, if you look at the interventions we have versus the intervention we need. You know, I don't think that you could safely say there is a person in the building that would be like, meh, you know, that I don't think that role exists. I don't think that filled role exists.
Right,
You know,
Yeah.
and that's the reality of education, you know, and you know, we're lucky to fill the roles that can be filled.
yeah. It seems
So,
like we
and
have
that's,
significant needs that are being addressed by the teachers that we have and the staff that we have, that doesn't seem like we have wiggle room there at all either. So, yeah, it was just,
with it, and I say that, but without losing other opportunities that you provide to students as well. Like,
Right.
that's the other thing, is at some point, if you're looking at making cuts, you're looking at cutting programs or learning opportunities.
right, exactly. Yeah, right. Gym and whatnot, and yeah,
But you can't cut that one.
right. You can't cut that one either. You cut that.
They mandated.
Right,
but-
that's true. So there, I mean, in a way,
but-
there's more.
But, you know, there are schools that cut music programs and cut tech
Yeah.
programs and cut, you know, and that's, you know, and you have to make the choice sort of between the dollar amount and the programming.
Yeah.
Anybody else? One other thing, anybody else? We're discussing the budget, Dave. You just opened Dave and Dave. You open the floor to discuss the budget. In this version 3.
Has the common level of appraisal been discussed?
Not yet.
I'm shocked that it's that low, and I'm wondering. The difference that it's gonna make if we're closer to 100%.
It would be, if we anticipated we were going to be at 100%, and that would not have cost us the 5 cents that this has cost us.
Right.
But in terms of being low, I got directed to over the week an article that was in Vermont Digger about the CLA. And there are towns that dropped 10% and 12% in this calendar year, just the same, down into the 70s. So that then they would be divided by a factor of 0.7. And so there are many, like this, when the CLA came out, it devastated quite a few budgets. And it's that article's up. It was in Times Argus, excuse me. It was in the Times Argus. And it was, I was going to send it around, but Tim doesn't like when people send articles around. He says he can do his own reading. So,
Can I comment on that, Clayton?
that, Tim. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, Mark.
Can I comment on that? The
love
only,
you.
the only towns in the state of Vermont that did not see a significant drop in their CLA this year are towns that completed a reappraisal in calendar year 22.
Right. Ours went in 21 and it already just got wrecked.
You already got nailed a big, let me see what's in here.
6%.
Yeah, your CLA dropped 6% in 1 year. And we've had other communities that dropped even more that were, and you're just 1 year out from your reappraisal. We are just 1 year out, because I live in Danville. We are 1 year out from our reappraisal. There are communities that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years out from the reappraisal, and they're down in the low 70s for CLA.
That's what I saw at Barry's, a bunch of goes from 0.82 to 0.71, and they just didn't see it coming. And you can't.
Well,
you just can't-
nobody did. Well, I shouldn't say that. One of the reasons that the yield rate was set so high was because they knew that the CLAs were going to drop precipitously across a wide area of the state, across most of the districts in the state. So they purposely set the yield rate higher to offset some of that. But the yield rate, the CLA, we don't have any control over that.
Not at all. All right, additional questions? All right, so where we are, we looked at this thing 3 times. We've gone back through it. We've asked administration to change a couple of things.
Packet.
Okay.
You need that.
We are looking at a budget and we need a budget to present to the town. This budget is $7,609,397. And it's going to come to the taxpayer at $1.45 per 100,000. And then, of course, as we now have all learned, that's actually good. There's going to be everybody's going to get a different rate based on income sensitivity. But for the average taxpayer, $1.45 is the number that they would look at. Can't change a lot of these things. Last year, we asked the town to vote on $1.42 on a similar on a budget, and it ended up coming back 138. I don't know, at that point, when we asked that, we didn't yet have the yield. When we put that budget together and voted on, we didn't yet have the yield. This year we have the yield. So there may not be as drastic a change or any change at all. But so this is roughly what we anticipate. Are you guys ready to act on this? If not, please ask some more questions.
Have you discussed the positions that were previously grant funded? At this meeting?
We have not
Not
discussed them
at
at
this
this meeting.
You see any more positions that will be grant funded? And excuse me, how many more positions do you think will be grant funded within the next year or 2?
Are you looking for new grant funded positions
I'm
or
sorry, yeah.
including current grant funded
New
positions?
things, I don't think we have any new ones.
Okay.
I mean, we have some that will continue to be grant funded for at
Mhm.
least another year. And we have title money that will presumably be able to use into the future. I don't have a good sense of how long that'll last, but hopefully for a long time.
So you're saying no changes to what's in the Consolidated Federal Programs grant, which is a grant, has always been, like, as long as.
Yeah,
That's been-
right,
yeah.
that I don't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on what we just
There's a
said.
little bit of the ESSER grant left that we'll be using for a position or 2, 3. Between ESSER, ARP and the various COVID related grants, but those would only last another year. After this one, as far as I know.
I'm concerned that every time a grant ends, we're going to pick up those positions.
Well, these are the grants that ended, and then next year we have a decision on the Danville Works program, the positions that are grant funded in that. But the Title I grants aren't,
Right, those ones.
those are ongoing.
Yeah, those are-
So those are interventionists as well, and those are ongoing, largely interventionists. And I don't know of any other grants that we have that are in any sort of state to fall off.
No, there isn't any.
Okay.
Salaries. and things like
Thank you.
that,
So
right.
just the rest of the people on the ESER.
Seems like next year is gonna be a hard year where we don't, there'll be the factors from the state that we can't control, but. If that yield rate goes down, then that could be challenging.
So
And
can I try to give you a little bit of perspective on next year? Because next year we are going to feel the effects of the weighting study changes that go into effect for FY'25. And the projections that we've seen ever since they started talking about implementing the weighting study indicate that all the districts in CCSU will see some financial benefit in terms of increased ability to raise education funds on the same tax dollar. So I don't think it's necessarily all doom and gloom. And I'm saying that barring any, crazy activity out of the legislature this year, but there's nothing that I've picked up on that they're thinking about making any further changes to the weighting study. We just have to wait until FY'25 to see how that is going to impact our ability to raise taxes in all of the districts. And, I think it's pure speculation at this point to try to guess what next year is going to look like. We haven't gotten, next year, the FY'25 budget is going to look like. We're talking about FY'24. We got to run the school next year. And then we're going to deal with whatever's presented to us next year when we put an FY'25 budget together. I'd respectfully disagree that it's necessarily going to be all doom and gloom.
Can I,
Please.
Dave, I don't know if it's clear on here. I think it's clear on here. I don't know if you noticed that. This does represent one less
Yes,
position
Yep.
than our previous, than what we.
and the other one is kind of unfilled, so.
Yeah, so we, one.
We made that discussed adjustment. You guys made that.
Yeah.
Discussed
You
adjustment.
had talked
we had.
about it, you'd asked us to look at it, and we were able to find a way to make that work, but. We think we'll still serve kids. Okay,
All right. It's good. Where are we, folks?
Are we ready for a motion?
So this is an action item. This is an action item. The discussion's falling off. This is our third time talking about it. I feel like the issues have been addressed. Would anybody care to act on this?
Larry, can you let me share my screen so I can put up the revised sheet that we got from Michael yesterday? Because he did make he made a correction on it. I'd like to put that in front of you so you know exactly the numbers that you're talking about.
Mark, really quickly, does BI stand for behavioral interventionist
Yes.
under the top increases?
Yeah.
Right there,
Yeah, the correction was some.
where it says 60 next to BI
that should have been it.
under all other.
We don't call them behavior interventionists here.
Weird.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what it stands for.
Perhaps it's
What do
much.
But that was contracted out behavioral interventions.
Right.
Cost of
Oh,
contracted out
oh.
behavioral interventions from Washington County.
That's a good catch.
That could be what that means.
That's what I told her it was. Clearly she didn't.
What would that be?
They call them BIs. They're people.
They do,
That we
okay,
have
Yeah,
our
that's the
Okay.
only thing we use actually.
clarify that, or
Yeah.
So Mark, you should be able to share your screen. Did you hear the question
yeah.
Molly had?
No,
um,
she asked what
under
about,
the-
she asked what. Go ahead.
Under the top increases, under the all other category. It says BI and then 60,000 in parentheses,
It's the last page.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, under all other.
In the gray box.
Yeah, that's the person that works in the student support center that we moved off of the grant. I think. Wait a minute.
I mean, that's,
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not right. So
Yeah, it was principal's office.
I thought that,
those are just
Maybe-
those are just general increases in budget line items, plant operations, principal's office. I think.
I know, I looked through and didn't see anything that started with a B and an I.
I don't know. Mike's not here. He's driving to Twinfield right now. So
Okay,
we're talking about $60,000.
Yeah.
Sure, it's-
I'll get the answer to that. I just don't know right now.
So
Yeah, I don't, unless you all changed it, that social emotional skills parent wouldn't be under principal's office, but I don't know where it was.
Right. It's something else.
So that might be what he's referring to,
Yeah,
because there's that additional position in there. But then I'm not sure what the additional under the principal's office.
yeah,
I
that's.
mean, it could be because insurance and salary.
I think it's separate though than principal's office, right?
Well, right, but I'm
Oh.
saying the BI,
The amount of the principal's office increase looks like, it looks like
Yeah.
one additional family and increases. And salary increases, so maybe, so that's probably what that is. I'm thinking, right, isn't that probably an additional family insurance or benefit? On that cost, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
But I
somebody
wouldn't have been, the principal line wouldn't have been budgeted.
for you,
For you.
For family, for this current,
Correct.
but it would be for next year.
yes, you're
That
right.
would be one increase,
Yeah.
some of that at least.
So is this correct?
I think
I
it
think so.
is,
It could also be,
and it's instead of BI, it's really student support. It's what-
Yeah.
I think it's just Mike using
shorthand.
the short, yeah,
what
thing.
I think, when I look at the salary numbers, somebody else is under principal's office, and I don't remember if it's Cassie or Jen. But there's something,
I think both of them
both of them
are.
are,
Okay.
yeah.
Both the bus and you're in a different.
I'm in a different, yeah, I'm not on
You're
there.
not- Right.
And there's
Well,
your
two.
increase, or the principal's increase is 35.
That would
Which is-
increase.
So that would
Be right.
That would be that one. That's a big deal.
I think that's what those are. I think it's principal's office is the student support person who was on the grant. That we,
The only odd thing is the total increase for principal's office is 55, so
Yeah.
that's the weird thing. I don't see, there's no increase for 60.
no, I meant the other way. I said it wrong.
Oh,
That
Yeah,
the
it's not
principal's
fair.
office is salary and benefits that are different.
oh,
And
in a
the
different
BI one is
category.
student support. I said
Okay,
it backwards.
gotcha.
Yeah,
I think that's.
That's the same as the
situation.
last version that came out, John.
That's what I would
The
say
two of
was
you
in my
can see
hand.
it.
That's the same as what's in your hand.
Projecting what's in our hand.
The 727,914 that you see there is the number that got changed from something else, but where it says 727,914, that's what it's supposed
I
to
can make
say.
it a little bit bigger.
Okay. 7.
If you see 727,914,
Yeah.
There.
that's the correct number.
Okay,
Oh.
so this is all.
What you have in your hand.
That's the one number that's different. I'm with you.
Well, because
No,
Right, but
this,
it's just this one.
yeah, it's just this.
Well, this packet I have in my hand says 746,608 in that same
Yeah,
line,
this
but it's
number.
actually 727. That,
That
then,
was the adjustment that was made today.
that is the clerical error that was fixed. 727,914 is the education spending increase. It is not 746,608.
Other than that, the rest of the chart.
The
stays
rest
the
of-
same, it was just one place.
One
Okay.
place, 727,914.
I mean, it's a plan to change that on there. Pass the plan.
No. you can-
I don't think it-
Uh,
Significant.
all right, are we,
Any more questions?
It's
We
not
good?
that much, it's not that much money. I'm not gonna harp on it, but yeah, was just more out of curiosity, Mark, is where I was going.
So if you can find out from Molly what that BI means, please.
I'll get an
Let us all
answer.
know.
Yes, I will get an answer.
I'm going by there tomorrow. I can ask Mike.
Okay.
All right.
all right.
So if you can see, you're looking at my screen, I highlighted the number that if you're going to act on this budget, that's the number you're going to approve.
That's the top number. If we're gonna act on this budget, I would need a motion if we're gonna act on this
Is it the same?
budget.
Same.
You would need a motion that says, that I make a motion
Okay,
to approve a budget of $7,609,397 for fiscal year 24.
that'll do. That's a motion.
Put to the voters.
I will second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Is there any discussion on this further? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion for $7,609,397 for FY'24, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, that's an aye. Okay, so I got 4 ayes, motion carries.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, folks. And I'm gonna move on. All I got is public input with no public and future agenda items with no future agenda items and an adjournment. remarks.
Do you want to take a look at the warning real quick? Can we do that? It's part of the budget.
Okay,
Is it in this packet?
he's gonna throw it up.
I'm gonna put it up on the screen.
But
I have-
this warning is part of our budget package that we deal with the voters, and he's gonna show it to us for approval.
Well, I have a couple questions about this. So I drafted this based on the on the warning that we did for the 2020 vote, which was the last time you met in person in the gym and did your voting. And I did talk with Wendy at the town clerk's office, and the school vote the school part of the meeting will be in the morning at 10 a.m. Okay. What I don't know is I asked Wendy and she didn't answer me, which surprised me. She must have missed the email, is the informational meetings, because we always put those in the budget. Do you have any information on that, Patrick? I mean, Clayton, I'm looking at Patrick. He's-
Traditionally, they are the Thursday before town meeting, and then the one in North Danville is the Monday night before the Tuesday of town meeting.
Correct.
So Thursday before town meeting at Danville.
At town hall.
Yeah,
And then at the North Danville school, whatever the day before town meeting is.
on the sixth, that would be the 6th. Okay, so I can get those in. I got the poll information. I want to walk through this because I did have a question about this. So just confirm for me, when we're voting on the floor in Danville, you elect your school moderator. We have 2 school directors terms of 1 year each and 1 for 3 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I have to fix Article 4 to reflect the budget amount that you just approved, which I will do. Article 5 is authorizing you to borrow 90% of the budget in anticipation of collection of taxes. That's normally voted on the floor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In Article 6, which was in the old warning that I had a specific article about setting money aside in the capital fund, but we're not planning to do that this year. What you do need to ask the community to do is to allow you to retain hold any audited fund balances and any surpluses in a reserve fund under your
We ask that
control.
every year. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I don't know that we have, I don't know, if you guys can hang on for a couple minutes and give me a second to edit this.
So I don't know, Mark, if you have to add in that we need a treasurer vote, because every 3 years we need a treasurer vote, and I'm not sure if we need a treasurer vote. I think that corresponds with Tim generally. When we revote for,
I think.
Phyllis.
I don't know either.
I think we need a treasurer.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
I think that's right.
All right, so we've got a time problem here then, because this has to be cleaned up before you can vote on it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to do that, and then we're gonna have to call a 10-minute meeting to approve the warning, so you guys can sign it, so.
Let me just check with these people and see if they're willing to do that tomorrow night at the beginning of the committee meeting.
Does it have to be warned?
No, we can add it we can add it. Because it's not, there's no money attached to it, so we could add it without discussion. We could say we want to conduct a little board business because that meeting is warned.
It is a meeting of the board. I think you could do that since you're not spending any money.
It's not a money spend. We just need to confirm a couple of things and then we can conduct a little bit of board business on it and a warned meeting.
It's really not a motion, it's just signing a document.
It's declaring that motion,
Okay.
that motion will just be that's what we agree to present to the board.
All right, so you want me to have this ready for tomorrow night?
I think we'll try that and then I think that'll work.
Okay,
I'll go back and look at some town reports and see about Phyllis.
all right. So Clayton, you and I will talk tomorrow. We'll get this cleaned up. We'll get the warning cleaned up. Okay,
Okay. All right. All right, so you're off, and then we're gonna go on to public input. Future agenda items. That we just talked about there, but that's tomorrow, and we'll add that to the agenda, so somebody put that for a motion for tomorrow. Next meeting date's tomorrow. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, and a second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, Mark.
All right. Well, I'll call you tomorrow, or you call me.
I think I'm going skiing in the morning, but I'll be by, so.
Okay,
one way or the other.
I need some time to clean this up. If you can find out anything about the treasurer before you leave for the mountain, let me know.
I'll have
Well,
that
I'll
tonight.
talk-
I'm
I'll
not going to the
talk to
mountain.
There's no.
Wendy,
There's no mountains in Craft.
Oh, you're going to Craftsbury. All right. I'll see if I don't hear from you, I'll check with Wendy and see if she knows.
I can check tonight.
Didn't they go
Okay.
on Monday?
All right, thanks, Mark.
Different
All right,
grade.
thanks. I'm moving. Bye.
Oh, that's
All right, Larry, stop.